I still don't understand how we're expected to keep this topic under 10 minutes. Fandoms? Seriously? Yeah. That's the one I mentioned last week. How can you sum that up at all? I am a typical geeky-minded person, which means when I like something an awful lot, rather passionately. In fact, when I was sophomore in college, I made a list of my strange passions. I don't know if you can see it very well on this camera, where I just started labeling everything that I geek out about. We might get a better view later. And in the past 15 years, I've come up with a whole lot of other things to add to the list, even. I might take some of the things that were on the list off, but not too many of them. You're probably better off naming things, and I'll tell you whether or not I am a fan of them. And I don't really understand where to draw the line. Take Tolkien fans. I would consider myself a Tolkien fan. I mean, I named one of my children after a Tolkien character, which in anybody's definition probably counts as a pretty big Tolkien fan. But I'm not, compared to other people I know personally. I know other people who make a point of reading Lord of the Rings at least once a year. People who have read the Silmarillion more than once. Even those people are not as big Tolkien fans as, say, Peter Jackson, who has devoted his life, his career, to making 6 big-budget feature films based on the world of Tolkien that he loves so much. But even he is not a big enough geek compared to the people he has hired to help make these films, who are experts in the made-up languages that Tolkien invented, who have devoted their life to illustrating just Tolkien's worlds, and who have devoted their life to drawing maps of Tolkien's worlds. That is a true Tolkien geek. So where does that leave me? I just addressed this topic in my blog this week, the topic of fandoms and how insane they are. You'll have to go check it out. Thank you. The other thing is, when do you stop being a fan and you become a professional? I've always been a fan of books. There are many book series and individual books that I am a big fan of, but too many to really count. And I do this professionally. You know, what kind of book do you like? And they tell me, or they tell me the one kind of book they didn't hate, and I will find another book that they will like based on their answers. And I may not even like the book that I give them, but I know something about it and I can find something exciting about it to share with them. It's my job to be a book geek. It's my job to be a fan of books, and I just have too many to even talk about. There are a lot of authors, especially in the past few years, that I've actually interacted with online. It makes you also wonder where the line between fan and professional, fan and stalker, is. I like them almost even more than I like their books, just because they're so completely funny. People like Kirsten White, Shannon Hale, Libba Bray. Libba Bray, I want to be my older sister. This is A Brief History of Montmoray by Michelle Cooper, an Australian writer. It's the first book in the Montmoray Journals trilogy. Michelle Cooper actually made me the American ambassador to Montmoray. And I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, because I'd be a really awful ambassador if I didn't. It's a pretty big responsibility. And I've been slacking off because she just had a giveaway, I think last week, that I forgot to retweet. The first thing that comes to mind is the Beatles. I've been obsessed with them since I was 15 and happened to catch a Paul McCartney concert on TV, and never was the same. I'm a huge rock music fan, actually a musical fan in general. And there are many, many bands that I am fans of, but none that I know so much, so well as the Beatles. And if I started listing other bands, I wouldn't know when to stop. See, like Pink Floyd, Chicago, Led Zeppelin, Carole King, Crosby, Stills and Nash. Never mind. I painted this the day after George Harrison died, and it's probably my one instance of fan art in ever. Perfectly good piece of fan art right here. The other really big thing that I count as a fan of is Jim Henson and pretty much anything he's ever been involved with. I did a research paper on Sesame Street when I was in 11th grade. Learned so much about this really fascinating show. You wouldn't believe what goes into every episode. The thing I love so much about Jim Henson and everything he's worked on is that for him it is all about singing and dancing and making people happy. It's about making the world a more beautiful place through his art. Jim Henson, the works, the art, the magic, the imagination. Look inside this gorgeous book. It's got pictures of carpet. It's got a nifty book within a book. It's got lots of pretty colors. This is not really the best page to show the pretty colors in drawings and things. And it tells you all about the wonderful philosophy that is behind the creations of the Muppets and everything else that Jim Henson has done. So read it. Kat asked about Martin last week. Martin is not a fandom. Martin is a man. A beautiful, deep, incredible, funny man who I adore. Fandom implies other people, like impinging on my imaginary marriage. You can't have that, can you? In fact, I kind of get annoyed this show has a huge online fandom. But the people who are fans of the show don't necessarily appreciate Martin like they should. They don't shut up about the one with the cheekbones. He's done a lot of other things. He's not just John. You understand, don't you? Not that I don't like the show. Obviously, I have the DVDs. I think it may be time for a cut. What did you say? Oh, honestly.